Hello, welcome to Follow Everton. My name's Ryan, I'm your host. I'm joined by Basil, and special guest today, straight from the forum, lifelong Evertonian, Follow Everton Forums, FE legend back in the day, Steve Ely, Steve Blue, as we like to call you. How are you, Steve?
Fine, thanks, and yourselves?
Yeah, very well. And Dave, I can't, Basil, we should call you. How are you as well?
I'm good, thank you.
I've just come fresh off the back from a nice video that I did with Mabsy and John, actually. 30 minutes long, really nice video talking about transfers, everything from, and also touching base with some of the international football. Tom Davis and Ben Godfrey, just to summarize what we're talking about there. Those played for England under 21s and lost. They lost 1-0 in that European under 21 championship game. And we talked about Kalidou Koulibaly at Napoli, and Max Aarons right back at Norwich, and Adrian Rabiot at Juventus. So it's definitely worth watching if you haven't already seen it. But for this video, I'm going to probe you both. And I firstly want to touch base on the Man City game now that you've had a chance to reflect, and the raw emotion from obviously not winning that game has settled. I'm going to start with you, Steve. Have you had a chance to reflect? What would you say to someone talking about the game, looking back, in terms of the summary of that fixture and losing to Man City?
I thought we set our stall out to defend deep, to frustrate them, to stop them playing the hype, to stop them playing the short passes, trying to get through us, and it worked. It worked to an effect. We started frustrating Man City. The problem we had is when we did get the ball and we did attack, we done nothing with it. So yes, defensively and midfield, I think we got it right, the tactics right. But going forward, we had nothing. We just had nothing at all.
Do you put that down to tactics, or do you put that down to the personnel available and not necessarily the injuries? It was who was there on the day. Do you think it was tactics or the players that we had?
I mean, I think it was a bit of both as well. I mean, to bring, I think we brought Iwobi on. Was it 5 minutes ago?
He's one of your favourite players.
Doesn't really inspire you, does it? You know what I mean? I think we should have started with Josh King. I think we should have,
He's cup tied.
We should have had some pace going forward, and we didn't have it. And DCL didn't have his boots on. I don't think he miscontrolled quite a few chances that he could have, on a normal day he would have put away. But
do you think it was a missed opportunity to make more of a go, or do you think Everton were kind of at the limits of what you could expect them to do against this Man City team, which is quite formidable at the moment?
See, the problem I have with Everton at the minute, you don't know what Everton you're getting. You don't know what Everton are going to say. You don't know what's up here in Carlo's brain. You don't know what he's going to send us out to do. Sometimes I don't think he knows what he wants us to do. It's hard to predict. I mean, Leeds away from home. We went and we matched Leeds pound for pound for pace.
Yeah,
they ran us ragged at Goodison Park. Ran us ragged. But we went there, we matched them pace for pace. And we won the game. At the end of the game, DCL was interviewed and he said, "We're better when we're playing at pace. This is my favourite game." Since then, we haven't played it. And when we play a slow game, we're boring to watch when we play a slow game. But we're not very effective when we get the ball back and go forward, because we're that slow coming through the midfield. They've got 10 men behind the ball.
I mean, it's good that you touched on Leeds, and Dave, I haven't forgotten you there. Everton seem to always have been more effective when they're aggressive and they do things at pace. As Steve points out, Leeds was one of the few fixtures we've actually seen that. Do you think that's a limitation of the players we have at the moment, Dave, or do you think it's just the way Ancelotti wants things to be, a little bit more measured and controlled?
I think that the players aren't really geared to play that consistently, but they showed they could do it for that game. They did it for the first half, especially right toe-to-toe with Leeds, didn't they? Pressing them. They had pace and purpose through their passing. And it was almost like Ancelotti gave them a bit of a rollicking after they played a game a few days before we lost. I can't remember who it was, but we were shocking. And it was a reaction, wasn't it? But then we never really saw that style of performance since that Leeds game. So it looks like, with Gomez, with Sigurdsson, with James, can we play that sort of intense game? And I think the only way we can do that is if we have to start the positions of the players higher up the pitch. And that starts with the back line. If we're already deep and then we've got players trying to press, we're going to leave huge gaps through the centre. So, it's going to have to be a restructuring of the formation, the players, everything.
I think obviously we touched on that in the previous video that if you haven't already seen, make sure you go and watch on YouTube. But we talked about how we are restricted in the way we play and have played this season because of the defence and because of the lack of speed across the midfield and the defence. And if we had someone with more mobility and the strength, more of an all-rounder in defence, we could change the way we play and be more progressive. But I think whilst we've got these Michael Keanes and Yerry Minas who turn like boats that haven't been in the river for many years, we're going to be, we're always going to find a way always going to struggle to be more of an adventurous side. I'm just going to bring in a comment from Stephen Grant, who completely agrees with our special guest, Steve. Steve is right. We've been inconsistent and slow. Never know what team will turn up, I think he means. Yeah, on our day, we can beat anyone. And would you say, obviously, with that Everton can beat anyone on their day, but it's just consistency this season has been out the window, and really, you don't know what you're going to get. That's to you, Steve.
Yeah, that too. I know you said about Michael Keane and Yerry Mina being slow, but if we can stop that ball coming over the top so you don't have to turn, we need to stop that. And also, when you look back at the home games that we've lost, the Fulham one, that's unforgiving. That's unforgivable. We're losing the Fulham game at home because we just showed them no respect at all by putting an unused centre-back pairing in of Holgate and Godfrey.
Why are we losing those games then?
Because I just think that was a total lack of respect shown to Fulham from Everton as a team. You knew we had Man City the next game, so that Fulham game should have been a must-win, guaranteed 3 points in the bank. Okay, so on our day, I think we can beat anyone. I think we can, especially if we're aggressive, as we said before. If we're aggressive and play fast going forward, we start putting them on a back foot. Once we start putting the opposition on a back foot, it stops them moving up the field. So we have wing backs going up and down, pushing their right back and left back further back into their own box. It stops them progressing. We just haven't got the pace in midfield. The other thing we haven't got in midfield, we haven't got any. We've got Decore, but we haven't got anyone who gets up and supports the forwards. So you look at Man City the other night. Look at City the other night against us. When they broke, they had 4 or 5 players in the box and another 2 on the edge of the box. Ours was still walking up. The gap between our midfield and the front two, it's wider than the Mersey.
So how do you solve this problem? I mean, you're talking about a systematic issue between players that are signed under different regimes. So is this a recruitment thing? And I know I'm going to ask for your opinion on recruitment, actually, in terms of how successful it's been so far this season. But what would you say in terms of that?
I think we need, and I think I've said this to you on a few occasions, we've never replaced Tim Cahill or Mikel Arteta. We've never replaced the goal scorers from midfield. Okay, yeah, you got Sigurdsson who'll get a few, but they're mostly free kicks and penalties. But we've never had someone who'll run on and come into the box late, arrive in the box late, like a Cahill or an Arteta, who will always get you the goal from midfield. We've never done that. And we need 2 energetics. I mean, if we're going to play Alan, right, that man needs legs around him. He needs runners around him. Like,
he seems to be just as slow as the others, doesn't he, unfortunately?
Yeah, and I always try to pick out, I call him Peter Reid. Now, around Peter Reid, you had Paul Bracewell, you had Kevin Sheedy, Trevor Stephen. They were the legs. He was in the middle. He was anchored in the middle, 6'8" and everything. We've got Gomez next to him at the minute, who's just as slow as him. And that's where we're struggling.
I would say in terms of, I know you touched on the Tim Cahill and the Arteta thing. Yeah, we haven't really replaced them, but I think obviously the team has evolved. And I'd argue that perhaps having someone like Richarlison, who's been predominantly playing on the wings for 3 seasons, I know he's played a lot up front, but we didn't have a winger under Moyes or under Martinez, really, who was scoring double figures. You'd have someone like Morales, maybe 5-6 goals. So I'd probably argue in a way we did replace some of the goals from midfield, but actually what's happened is collectively the goals have dried up. And in terms of the Calvert-Lewin situation, obviously he's come and he's doing well, but we still can't maximize the output from him until we play with those wingers. No. Which leads me on to the question of recruitment in terms of those positions. Bernard, he's barely played this season. Don't really know what's going on with him too much. And Iwobi, who was signed ahead of Zaha because he didn't want to pay the money. Can I get your opinion on the recruitment out wide since Marcel Brands has been here and how that's impacted on Everton's season?
I'm trying to be nice here.
You don't have to be nice. I really.
Okay. I think the Iwobi £35 million to Arsenal was an absolute joke of a signing. I think it was it was deadline day signing. I think it was a couple of minutes before the end of the window, and I think it was £35 million. That was just, you might as well have just put it down the drain, because you can watch Iwobi all day. He'll show the odd glimmer of skill, yeah, because he's JJ Okocha's cousin or nephew or something like that, you know. Mm-hmm. But he's not a footballer, eh? You watch him. I always take time to watch when they haven't got the ball. And when we were allowed to go back into the stadium and watch the games live in the Grand Old Lady, I always used to take a time out to, if a player was getting a stick, to watch him. Just not watch where the ball is. Watch what he does off the ball. Mm. And it won't be. It's like someone will play a pass and then he'll react about 5 seconds later and think, "Oh, I should have run for that," and he'll run for it. And then
he's not intelligent enough.
No, he's not a footballer, honestly. And I think Marcel Brands needs absolutely pillarising over this. The worst. I've seen some bad signings at Everton. He's got to be one of the worst. And I'm not. I'm trying to be nice to the lad.
Bernard, got no end product.
No, Bernard, a lovely little footballer when no one's around him, can do massive tricks with the ball. Someone puts a shoulder on him and he's over. He's not. He's a nice to have if he's on form, and I think the best game he's ever played for us was Man United at home a couple of seasons ago, where we beat them.
Don't trust him, and I think he is more intelligent than Iwobi, actually.
Oh yeah, but he's too lightweight. He's just. We need some angry people in our team, some nasties, and we haven't got any.
Dave, just coming in on what Steve said, and I think Steve makes some really good points, and I do actually agree on Iwobi. I think he really doesn't offer anything. But do you think Everton's season has been limited to where they can, because in my opinion, I think if we had 2 flying wingers who were crossing the ball to our 2 strikers, we'd be absolutely flying, and we wouldn't be arguing about anything really, because we'd be scoring a lot of goals with those 2 forwards. So would you say that Everton's season so far, when we're looking back, has been hampered by having a real lack of sort of quality out wide? We haven't even had a right back who can cross a ball, which is, I think, a lot of people would agree with.
Yeah, and I think we knew going into the season that our right back and our right winger were areas that we still very weak in. And the transfer strategy was to bring in James Rodriguez and play him on the right wing, which, he's just not reliable enough, is he, in terms of his injury record. He's been out for large periods of the season, and it's left us with gaping holes of creativity. When we don't have him, we need to maximise crosses from wide areas for Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. And as you say, Iwobi just very poor on the end product. He had about 2 or 3 games where he looked actually like he'd fulfilled his potential, and then he just became the old Iwobi somehow overnight. So I don't really understand it. I mean, it's a bit like
Iwobi.
It's a bit like all our performers. We have very inconsistent players, don't we? Gomez is one of them. Maybe that's why we are so inconsistent as a side, that we have so many inconsistent players. But the difference between Bernard and Iwobi is Iwobi was 35 million, and Bernard was a free transfer. So I can slightly justify the Bernard one a bit more in my head than that waste of space and waste of money. But he's only young, Iwobi, isn't he? Bernard's a lot older. So I'm not writing him off totally, but if I could upgrade and cash in, if I could get 15 mil even, I'd probably just cash in.
I think Bernard has got a little bit more magic than Iwobi, but I think you just don't trust him. You always get a feeling he's going to give the ball away in a silly area and we're going to get counter-attacked. But I think you have players like him on there to try and do something special. And if you don't trust them, then there's nothing down for them. When I look back at this season, I think the main problem that we've had is the consistency. And that does stem from also not maximizing the players we have by playing to their potential and their strengths, i.e. Calvert-Lewin crossing the ball. Why have we stopped crossing the ball? And also not knowing what players are going to turn up which week in, week out. And I honestly don't think Ancelotti knows which version of Gomez, which version of Sigurdsson are going to turn up week in, week out. Because I saw Gomez against Man City. I thought he was exceptional by his standards. And what I mean by his standards is, 6 games in a row, he'll look lethargic, slow, a step off it. This is a player who's got the potential to dominate a midfield and control it and really, look like a superstar, because he was at Valencia. That's why Barcelona signed him. But unfortunately, he's just one of many in a long line of inconsistent players. And I'd say Bernard, Gomez, Sigurdsson, Iwobi, they're all, you never know what you're going to get with them. And I think, obviously, we're talking about the wingers. I think James was signed as the right winger. And then he realized, oh dear, he's got no pace. He's not really physical enough to do the defensive side of things. And that kind of, he didn't last long as a right winger. And that's exposed the lack of creativity off the right, especially when Holgate's at right back and there's no one in front of him. So I think this summer, I think we have to rectify that and sign 2 wingers. But on reflection, looking back at this season, the inconsistency comes down to, I don't think it's tactics in that. I just think it's the players that we've got. Just you can't rely on them to turn up. And for me, there's got to still be an exodus of those. Because if you're not turning up and putting in at least a 7 out of 10 week in, week out, you shouldn't be playing for Everton Football Club.
100%. I mean,
there's no coincidence that we've switched to this 4-4-2 diamond formation because Ancelotti doesn't trust the wingers anymore.
But does that work without a right back? I mean, Steve, do you like this formation? You've seen it? The one David's talking about, the 4-4-2 diamond.
Yeah, no. I'm old-fashioned, and I just like the 4-4-2. I like it. I like your midfield fighting for your forwards, pushing on with your forwards. And you're talking about wingers. Okay, so you look back. Do you think Theo Walcott's better than Iwobi or Bernard?
Well, I'd still rather have Walcott. Yeah, I mean, I would.
And then, do you think Moise Keane is a better option than Josh King? Yeah, I do. So I do question.
David's not impressed. Do you want to come in on that, actually? I think Moise Keane, it's a whole different video, isn't it? He just flashes for Everton, doesn't he? I mean, he might be a much better player on paper, but from what we saw, I mean, we don't know about Josh King either. I mean, that's another conundrum, isn't it? Another panic.
He's not settled. I don't actually think King's going to stay by the sounds of it. I mean, no, you don't think so either. He's done nothing. I don't think he scored at any level. I mean, I obviously want to bring in the general Everton talk that we've had into the preview for these fixtures. So 10 fixtures. I'm going to go through them very quickly for those listening or watching back on YouTube or Facebook or wherever you catch up on these videos. Palace is the next game, Monday the 5th of April. And then we play Brighton away, Tottenham Hotspur at home, and Arsenal away. And then in May, we have Villa, West Ham, Sheffield United at home, Wolves at home, and then we go away to Man City. And hopefully we're not needing anything when we go to Man City. And obviously you've got the Aston Villa game somewhere in there, but we don't know when that's going to be played at this stage. So taking it game by game and also actually first looking at that as a whole, your initial reaction, well, mine is, I'm not scared looking at those fixtures and thinking, "Oh my God, it's a crazy run." You know, we haven't got a chance of Europe. Obviously, the Man City away, their league will be wrapped up by then. They might not be up for it. You've seen teams winning the league and then kind of losing. Obviously, what we saw with the Red Shite last season, and then obviously a difficult game, Spurs at home, but we've beaten them twice already this season. So there isn't an awful lot there that makes me scream and be overly concerned that we haven't got a chance for Europe. So starting with you, Steve, initially looking at the fixtures, would you say that Everton are in with a chance of Europe now? And if so, do you think Champions League, or do you think get top 6? Or where do you think in terms of your assessment when you see those fixtures?
I think we'll finish just outside the European places. I hope not. I mean, I do. But I look back at the points we've lost at home this season. Unforgivable.
So when you see... Sorry, go on.
7 home games we've lost at home.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's a hard one, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like we've just touched on it. What Everton are going to turn up, and that's when you're asking about the fixtures towards the end of the season. Now, you're asking yourself, well, what Everton are going to turn up against Crystal Palace? Have they still got this hoodoo with them? We've lost, 7 home games on the run. Is there a stigma about playing at Goodison Park? Playing Crystal Palace. We played Burnley the other week. We thought we were going to get 3 points there. We played Fulham. We thought we were going to get 3 points there. I don't know. This Crystal Palace one is a really hard one to call.
So you're not confident because you think there's been too many slip-ups. Do you not think this international break is a chance to get everyone fit, even the likes of Gabaman?
No, because we've got people out in foreign countries, haven't we?
The Brazilians and the Colombians are still at Finch Farm, aren't they, Steve? Or have you been told otherwise? Yeah,
you got Luca Dean away, haven't you? You've got Sigurdsson away.
No, Sigurdsson stayed.
Oh, has he stayed? Has he? Okay.
Most of them are actually there at home.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's a hard one. I don't know.
You're not confident because you've seen.
No, I'm not. No, yeah. I'd love to be. And the season started off so fantastic as well, and I don't know. I've just lost a little bit of mojo with Everton.
Yeah, we've not seen that Everton since the 7 games, have we? We've not seen a true Everton. But I put that down a lot to the fact we haven't had everyone fit. And I think if he has everyone fit, he might have a go. But he's not happy with the goals we were conceding as well.
But
one injury and the whole thing was ripped up.
I also put it down to the tinker in the back four, because for 6 games on the run, we never had the same back four. He tinkered with the back four constantly, and they were the ones where we were leaking goals and points. As Howard Kendall said, build from the back, build stability, build a foundation, and you can build on that foundation. We were just chopping and changing the back four. Then the goalkeeper, different back four, another goalkeeper. It doesn't work. It might work in Italy, but it doesn't work in the Premier League.
Is that rotation, or is it just trying to manage what you've got or playing who you have available?
I think it's the word now is rotation, right? But other teams have got to do the same as well, haven't they? So other teams are playing the same amount of games in the same short time as we are. So it's not just Everton. You don't see Leeds chopping their back four every week. You don't see other teams doing it. But we tried it, and it backfired on us.
Do you think that Carlo Ancelotti doesn't really know the strongest back four? Because all the players, I mean, obviously Dean's a level above, but the rest of them are all, I would say, on a par with each other, maybe slightly better here and there in different qualities, but he seems to just chop them to give them a game each rather than settling on the 4.
I think so. I think he likes to please everyone.
He's trying to keep everyone happy, but I don't think that works in the reality because it's unsettled.
No. Play your best
team.
Or
he doesn't know who his best team is.
Well, I agree with that as well.
I don't think he does.
Godfrey's been sort of an enigma, hasn't he? And he's kind of pushed his way from the bottom of the queue to the top of the queue. And it means like we have to constantly pick a players to go with him each time. And
he's got natural talent and none of the others have, maybe?
He's got all the characteristics to be a fantastic centre-back. And, he's got to play, really. You can't drop him. So it seems to be, well, let's throw Mina in one week, Keane in the next week. Oh, we'll play Holgate at right back. There's a lot of messing around, but we don't really have a back four, do we? The best run we went on was when we played 4 centre backs. We were consistent.
Do you think that you know, in terms of this running now, these 10 games, it is a case of just play your best players. I don't care whether people are missing out. I'm sticking my 11 there. And if you're fit, you're playing. Or do you think you're going to see more rotation and Holgate 1 week, Coleman the next, depending on the opposition?
Why do we rotate when we've got a game every Saturday now? There's no need to rotate in that extreme.
Stephen's actually come up with some comments. Hiya, Steve. West Ham is the toughest game there apart from City. They would be direct. Just going to take Steve out for a second while he gets his charger. West Ham are the toughest game apart from City. They are, you know, they are considered our direct rivals and a team that we're going to have to be, you know, very, very good against if we're going to get something. Because we've seen a West Ham that looked like a very good West Ham side under David Moyes. And Steve also goes on to say, I would like to see Keane and Godfrey as a pair for the rest of the season. Dave, just picking up on that comment in particular. Steve, welcome to the channel. I don't know whether you've subscribed already. Make sure you do if you haven't, and give this video a thumbs up. Keane and Godfrey. It's hard to leave Mina out, but do you think this is the way forward?
It depends how we break it down, isn't it? If we're assuming we're going to play a 4 at the back, then it's got to be Dean at left back. The right back we need to replace. So let's just take the centre backs independently and say Godfrey, in my opinion, we have to have him there purely really because of the recovery pace, his ability to read the game, his tackling, to set the team in motion, like that leadership quality and setting it by example. And then the other one is just personal choice, really. I think Mina dominates the air better than Keane, but Keane is slightly better at distributing the ball from the back and playing a long pass. So just pick what you want, really. They're both very similar in their
not much between them.
Yeah.
I do think Keane is just slightly edges it over Mina, but there isn't an awful lot there. Sorry, Steve. I'm going to mute you there. Sorry. Go on.
So where does that leave if we bring in Koulibaly? If we bring him in, so who makes way?
I actually think that the point of the Koulibaly thing would be to try and evolve this style of play. You know, you're talking about wanting to play more aggressive, a higher line, you know, more intensity, more pace. I think that allows you to do that. And I think then it's Godfrey and Koulibaly. I don't think you have the two snail defenders because they limit the way we play too much. The whole season has been dictated to by our defense. And when we played fullbacks, we've been exposed at times. When we played the centre backs, we haven't had enough going forward. Finding that balance is very difficult. But one thing's for sure, when we've played the two really slow centre backs, they only suit the low block. We play the high line, the ball over the top, we get done. And when I look back at some of those fixtures, 7 games we've lost at home, it is scandalous, really. And teams like Fulham and Burnley and really, really poor, really. And I think we when we do the season review, we'll have to look at why those happened. But I just think we're so heavily dictated to in our style of play by the centre-backs, and Koulibaly would change things for sure. Dave, have you got any media there you want to bring up at this stage, or is that for another point? Just because I've noticed.
I did upload a picture of the table as it currently sitting. I don't know if you're ready to... Do you want me to bring it up?
Because what we're going to do is we're going to go through each fixture briefly and just see.
Okay. I don't know if it's going to work, but...
This is the table. Okay. Do you want to explain what we're looking at?
I can't see it. Can you see it?
Oh, because I'm in the middle. Yeah, you can't see this. I can see this.
I can't see the table, but okay. Right, I can see it now. Right, well, I prepared that table more just to look at, obviously, where we are, where we think we're going to finish. I know, Steve, you said you think we're just going to finish outside of Europe, so pretty much where we are now, do you think? Yeah.
Yeah. Thereabouts, yeah.
Can I just say one thing then on that? That 8th place finish is no better than Marco Silva, and it's no better than Sam Allardyce. And I don't think this is controversial. I don't think the football that we're playing right now is much better than we were playing then, because it's not really that great, is it? It's boring. We're losing a lot of games at home to crap teams, and yeah, we're still not great. You know what? It's controversial, but the facts are the facts. We're in 8th place with 10 games to go. It's not really any better. The only thing you'd say, though, probably to counter argue what I've just said, is that we weren't as this close to Europe. We weren't competing under those two.
I can counter it, though, because, you know, if I'm going to put my positive hat on, which is quite difficult at the moment, the way we've been playing recently, the results we've been getting, and obviously going out the cup, we do have the game in hand, which obviously is very dangerous because we don't tend to win our games in hand. But if we did win the game in hand, we'd have as much points as I think 5th place West Ham. Where that's annoying me is our goal difference is +3, which is miles off anyone above us. And I think the way that we play and have been playing this season, we're not likely to make that much better. Our games are only won generally 1-0, 2-1, 3-2.
You've got to start crossing the ball now and just feed Calvert-Lewin and get James fit, because otherwise we won't do it. And Steve will be right, we'll finish 8th or worse.
If the season ended today, we'd finish 8th on goal difference, wouldn't we? Purely off goal difference. If we had the goal difference, we'd finish in Europa.
We do have the game in hand, though. Yeah, we do have the game in hand.
We do, but we're notorious for mucking up any sort of opportunity to gain ground on other teams.
It has slipped away a little bit, hasn't it, Steve, in recent weeks? I mean, it was a few wins back to back. The Southampton, you know, the few games that we were quite poor. West Brom, we nearly dropped points right at the end and that. But I lost my trail of thought. But we've slipped. Yeah, we've slipped away a little bit, haven't we?
Yeah, we're not fit. We're not fit as a team. You know, you look at we hang on to games. Southampton at home, we hung on for the grim death. You know, it was just a matter. If there'd been 5 more minutes there, they'd have scored. We're not fit. Yeah, West Brom. We're not a fit team.
So just very quickly, actually looking at the next fixtures coming up, we'll start with these 4 fixtures. Can't really look at the well, obviously we can look at the Villa game, but we don't know where it's going to be yet. So Palace, Monday the 5th of April at Goodison Park, 6:00 kickoff. And the Brighton at Hove Albion game, these are must-win games. Brighton have been a bit up and down, but mostly down. I think they've shown good signs, but they've just kind of been the masters of their own downfall. Palace, obviously, we've got to be beating Palace at home. And then following up with that, you have the Spurs game. Now, we beat Spurs twice already. This is at Goodison. Okay, it's not really much of an advantage. But you think we would have enough to get over the line. And then we go to Arsenal, who are not Arsenal of old. They are Arsenal of new, and they're kind of a mid-table team. So with those 4 fixtures, sort of how many points do you think we can pick up? And what are the games we have to win? And yeah, just give me your thoughts on these first 4 fixtures.
3. I'd like to say 3 against Palace.
Yeah.
Brighton are playing really at home. Brighton are playing some good, attractive football, fast. I'd like to think we could pick a point up there. Arsenal away. This is what baffles me. I think Everton will go there and beat them.
Yeah, which would be nice because I don't think we've done that in a while. But Basil,
we haven't won at the Emirates.
The Spurs game as well. Do you think Lightning's going to strike 3 times and we're going to beat them 3 times in a season?
Well, it's very rare that you do that, isn't it? Usually the opposition start to figure you out at some point and find a solution. And the FA Cup game, it was a cup game. It was a bit of a roller coaster ride. I don't think we'll see a game quite like that when we play them. I mean, Crystal Palace really, it worries me probably the most out of the 4 fixtures. It's a home game. It's against lower league opposition. That's our danger. That's usually where we slip up. Brighton away. Brighton play very good football from what I've seen, but never seem to have the end product and never seem to take the chances. I think we will win that game, and I think because it's an away game, we will sort of fight for it a bit more. Spurs, I just don't know. It's a home game. I'm not sure. And Arsenal, Arsenal were 3-0 down, I think, against West Ham, and they still drew the game. Back. Yeah, they're in a good run of form, so you can't take anything for granted there. The fixtures have all of a sudden started looking very difficult when a month ago you look forward and they look very easy.
So the season could be a bit more of a drag, and I really hope it doesn't peter out and we lose the next 2 games or something, and that's it. I'm being more confident, and I think we'll scrape there, and I think we might finish 6th. I'm just trying to, hold on for that. I don't know whether Europa League is particularly prestigious competition to be in. I think it will actually impact us next season, especially if we don't invest in the right personnel. But I think, that's what he's been told to get, and Europa League, and then next season have a real go at the Champions League, or finish in the Europa League again and maintain that position whilst doing well in all the cups, because I think it's hard to balance both. And in terms of those final 6 fixtures, we play Villa twice. Villa have flaked away a little bit, so you'd think we can get something against them.
I do, yeah. I think we can beat them home and away, depending on what Everton turn up.
And then the final games: West Ham away, Sheffield United at home. I mean, they've already sacked their manager. If we drop points against that, then Steve will be throwing his computer across the room. And the Wolves at home, and Wolves they've been pretty toothless without their centre forward. I mean, the whole season's been an absolute write-off. And then obviously the Man City. So in my opinion, the West Ham game's massive. We can't afford to lose there. If we beat them, that is absolutely huge, and I think we can do that. It's going to be a huge game. Sheffield, you'd expect us to beat, to win comfortably, and then Wolverhampton don't really have a focal point. They've got a lot of pace and neat players, but there's just no end product. I've watched them loads of times this season, and they're just toothless. And then City, hopefully they'll have the league wrapped up, and we can actually go and pull off a surprise. So, Steve, in terms of looking at those fixtures, what would your thoughts be for that?
Wolves at home. I think Wolves have already threw the towel in, to be honest with you. I think they just want the season to end now.
They want to beat.
Yes, I'd like to think putting oil on his arm is try all hands. He's already doing it, isn't he? He's already putting the suntan oil on it. That's terrible. Have you seen that, what he does?
Why does he do that?
Well, it's to stop people grabbing hold of your arms, he says, but no. He just looks like Mr. Muscles, doesn't he? Yeah, we can beat Wolves at home. We should do. Sheffield United at home, we should beat them. West Ham away.
6 points.
Yeah, West Ham away. I think, you know what? Let's see what happens in these games our next 4 games. And if we have got a chance, we will go to West Ham and we will, I would like to think, put a performance in there. But West Ham are looking a good side at the minute. But if we've got something that we can, let me tell a thought. Carlo says the other day, our next 10 games are, this is my strategy for getting to Europe. This is how we're going to get to Europe. Let's see what it does.
In terms of the points, I mean, obviously, I think James coming back is absolutely key. Decore is a huge blow. Let's see if Gabamin can come in and do something and try and help. I'm not too optimistic. In terms of the points, though, 20 points, I think, is your target. I think if you get 20 points out of those 10 games, I think we'll finish in the top 6. But just from what we've seen, if we're going to see more of the same this season, and I really hope they're going to get their act together now and think, you know what, we're in with a really good chance, win our game in hand and and show some consistency. We could even finish in the top 4. Genuinely, I really want to see that ambition. But in terms of these,
don't forget it's a 5-year plan. I mean, this is his first full season.
Yeah,
and it's a 5-year project, and he says that he's openly. It took the German one across the park, the dark side, 4 years to win it, didn't it? You know what I mean? So, it's a 5-year project that he tells everyone. So, we can't.
So it's just missing out acceptable for you?
No, not really. No, because the thing with Evertonians, they always accept mediocre, and I can't. I just can't. I don't look at Everton with blue tinted glasses. I look at Everton and say it as it is. And sometimes I get called all the names under the sun over it, but I don't care. It's my team. And if I don't agree with the way they're playing, I'll tell them. I'll say it. You know what I mean?
And I know in general, you're not overly impressed with what Ancelotti's done this season so far, are you, really?
He hasn't made me jump up and down out my chair thinking, wow, he's changed the game at the drop of a hat, or wow, he's done this, or wow, he's done a plan B, he's done that. He just hasn't got me off my seat, I'm afraid. I'm sorry,
he's found a way to get results in games with the players he's got. And I think if we're still having this conversation in 12 months' time, then, there will be more criticism, won't there? Certainly.
See, he's
After
a media
another
dog.
transfer.
The media love him. The media absolutely adore him.
In terms of the points, no, obviously we say 20 points is kind of where you want I think you'd finish in the top 4 with 20 points. If they got sort of half, 30 points to play for, if they got 15 points, do you think that would get us European football, or difficult, really? Do you think?
It's okay us getting them points. It's what the teams around us get.
What I mean is, that's why I'm saying, obviously, Chelsea looking really good, Leicester looking good, United, City. I think Liverpool will go on a run, unfortunately. So, 6th place, 15 points. I mean, what would you take 15 points now from what you've seen?
No. I'd take. I want 20. I want more than 15.
Good. Basil, your final thoughts on the run-in?
Yeah, I don't know whether us getting Europe, how much that derails the 5-year plan. I don't know what we expected from year one. I suppose we expected to be qualifying for the Europa League after this first year. If we don't get that, does that mean next year, instead of looking to get into the top 4, we then just looking to get to 6th or 5th? Or does it mean that we have less games to cram into the schedule and more chances to win games? But then again, I personally feel it's imperative we get into Europe, because I think we need to strengthen the squad. And if we have a big squad already like we do, then we're not going to buy more than 2 or 3 players if we can't get into Europe. So I think we have to, and that's a big step. So we've got to take advantage of these 10 fixtures. Look, on paper, it looks like we can get 15 to 20 points, but you just don't know. You take it game by game. It's really disappointing when I look back at the season and I think of the first 7 games, and I think that we couldn't employ that style since then. And I think
the players have been missing.
They have, but the whole season falls apart on a few players being missing. Then that's a real concern, isn't it?
Steve, in terms of the final thoughts from you in terms of the run-in, what do you want to see from Everton now in terms of? What do you want to see between now and the end of the season from Everton?
Passion.
And do you think that'll be enough to get us over the line?
When you're playing aggressively at pace and a bit of passion, a bit of blood and thunder, you'd always prosper. I'm a great believer in that. And if you go out there and you give it the bifters, you go for it, you try and you get beat, you'll say, well, listen, we had a go there. But it's when you roll over and let them tickle your belly, like we did against Burnley in the first half, and like we've done against Fulham, Newcastle at home, Leeds at home. Not acceptable.
You think we did roll over in those games, and you just don't want to see a repeat again. You want to see a full throttle Everton in every game going now till the end of the season. 10 cup finals. 10
cup finals. Let's get into Europe. Let's do what we can to get into Europe. And if we miss out, we miss out. But we haven't missed out with a whimper. We've missed out with showing our teeth and showing some aggression. So let's try and get there.
It's there's 2 buzzwords, isn't there? There's spirit and quality. I think Ancelotti's used those words a lot. And when we don't have quality, which has been on quite a few occasions, unfortunately, far too many times we haven't shown the spirit. We haven't fought for the balls. We haven't won second balls. We haven't shown aggression, energy, looking like we want to actually win the game. If we do that from now to the end of the season, if we don't show that spirit in every match, we won't pick up enough points, quality or not. We have to show spirit and then inject quality. If we do that, we will finish in the top 6.
I want to see what you've all said, and I just want to see us cross the ball in the box and win the second balls and build from there. Play a little bit higher up, keep the aggression, and maximise having someone like Calvert-Lewin, because if he gets starved of service, he'll be off. Man United will come looking for him in the summer if they want to replace Cavani. We've got to maximise these players and make sure they can fulfil their potential at Everton instead of looking elsewhere and then being left with cast-offs from other teams. Just a final comment from Steve Fiddler. The aim has to be to get Europa and then try and win the Europa League next season. And obviously next season, whilst doing that, try and win the FA Cup, try and win the Carling Cup, and try and win the Premier League. but realistically, just be competitive and try and finish in Europe again, I think, and balance all the competitions. Guys, thank you very much for being on today. Steve, absolute pleasure to have an FE legend, follow Everton legend on the video. And we hope you'll join us again in the future for match preview or a general video or reaction. I think people have really enjoyed. I've been very entertained watching you and listening to you. I think the insight's been exceptional. And I hope the other people who've been watching the video and will watch it back later have enjoyed and relish having you back on.
Could I just say something?
Of course you can.
Can I just say a big congratulations to Steve Fiddler, who's just been posting on his new job in Westminster. So proud of you, lad. Well done.
Excellent. Congratulations, Steve. And if you haven't already, subscribe, Steve. And I hope to see you on future videos. And make sure you like and subscribe. Basil, as always, pleasure. And guys, thank you, Stephen. Guys, I'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Take care. Thank you for joining.